ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's May Day in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Lagos. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Guinea-Bissau President Embalo declared candidacy for a second term amidst a political crisis. Labor unions in Nigeria reject new hikes in electricity tariffs, threatens nationwide strike.
Why should the power tariff be increased? Now, if there is going to be any form of increase even in the tariff, electricity tariff, the issue of subsidy should be resolved to an extent first. If we have 247 power supply in the country, we know that power is expensive. Then we can be talking about increase in power tariff or electricity tariff.
Wadr convenes national conference on the state of ECOWAS.
The AES countries activated their withdrawal from ECOWAS, and they have this 6 months reflection period to reconsider, but we know that they forge ahead with their plans to remain separate, while others also contemplate plans to join them.
And in Mali, supporters of Magasa demand his release from Algeria. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and welcome to our listeners within the sub-region and beyond. Let's begin this afternoon in Guinea-Bissau, where President Umaru Sissoco Embalo has officially announced his candidacy for a second term in a contest of extreme tensions following the expulsion of the ECOWAS mission and why the operation that opposition believes his presidential mandate has expired. Embalo returning Monday evening from a trip to Russia, Azerbaijan, and France told newsmen that he intends to win the election in the first round. Embalo has been at odds with the political opposition in the COPROM West African nation over when his current 5-year term, which began in 2020, ends. The opposition says it ran out at the end of February, while the Supreme Court of Justice has ruled that it ends on September 4. There has also been disgruntlement after Embalo said presidential and legislative elections will not be held until November 30 this year. We stay right there in Guinea-Bissau, where the opposition is calling for an inclusive national dialogue amidst a tense political climate. In addition to the lack of consensus surrounding the electoral process leading to the general elections at the end of the year, controversy has arisen over the end of President Umaru Sissoco Embalo's mandate. The opposition therefore denounces the state of political uncertainty. More details from Alpha Abubakar, voiced by Abdullahi Hassan.
It is Domingos Simeo Pereira, the president of the dissolved National Assembly and leader of the opposition, who has called for an inclusive national dialogue. For the opposition, discussions during this national consultation should help Guinea-Bissau emerge from the new political crisis it is facing. According to Domingos Simeo Pereira, the current political tension could, in his words, escalate at any moment. The opposition leader is urging the creation of an expanded platform for internal dialogue, bringing together all political parties and civil society to reach a political consensus. However, such a dialogue between the opposition and the government may never take place, as Bissau-Guinean President Umaru Sissoco Embalo has categorically rejected this option. Alenyero Embalo is a Guinean political analyst and journalist.
We are just waiting for international community, bilateral partners, and so on, to at least be aware of the problem we are facing, at least to bring their support. It's not only financial support, but we need also human resources, and at least bring the Guinea-Bissau to the clear situation, being ready to at least correct its internal and fundamental law, which is the constitution, and also, which is very difficult, we have to change also, because our political actors now are over. They don't bring nothing new for this country. This is the main problem we are facing.
The Permanent Commission of the Guinean National Assembly, which will convene in the coming days, will decide on the involvement of the African Union and ECOWAS in a new mediation mission. It is worth recalling that ECOWAS mission, which was in the country last week, left Bissau under the threat of expulsion by President Embalo.
Abdullahi Hassan with that report. The Nigeria Labour Congress has rejected a proposed electricity tariff hike, calling it an unjustified extortion of Nigerians after its National Executive Council meeting in Yola, Adamawa State. The union vowed to mobilize mass resistance if the increase goes ahead. Usma Umra in Abuja tells us more.
Labour leader Joe Ajero criticized the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission's reclassification of consumers into higher tariff bands, describing it as fraudulent. He insists that since the power sector is deregulated, the government cannot raise tariffs without consulting stakeholders, including labour and consumer protection groups. Since President Tinubu took office in May 2023, electricity tariffs have risen significantly. In April 2024, tariffs for Band A customers increased by 230%, with the government citing the need to reduce the growing electricity subsidy, now at 2.8 trillion naira. Officials argue that the hike is necessary to address debts in the power sector, which have exceeded 3 trillion naira. However, the National Assembly has urged the government to reconsider, warning that the increase will worsen economic hardships. Senate Chief Whip Ali Ndumi had described the move as unfair, especially following the removal of fuel subsidies. Many Nigerians fear that rising electricity costs will increase production expenses, affecting small businesses and household budgets.
Now we are talking about increase in tariff again. The power that is not even there at all. Why should the power tariff be increased? Now, if there is going to be any form of increase even in the tariff, electricity tariff, the issue of subsidy should be resolved to an extent first. Then the power should be supplied. Well, if we have 24/7 power supply in the country, we know that power is expensive. Then we can be talking about increase in power tariff or electricity tariff, but not at this moment at all. So I think there should be a serious planned protest, even if it's going to be an individual protest, because I don't believe in NLC anymore. The Nigerian Labour Congress, they have disappointed us.
If the NLC proceeds with its strike threat, businesses could suffer many disruptions, worsening Nigeria's economic challenges. A prolonged strike, on the other hand, may cripple key sectors, leading to job losses and further economic instability. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
In Liberia, hundreds of motorcycle riders took to the streets of Monrovia on Monday, demanding the cancellation of the controversial no-go zone restrictions that have barred them from using the new street leading to central Monrovia. With their engines revving and placards waving, the riders charged up the atmosphere with emotions, underscoring their determination to fight for their livelihoods. The procession, which culminated at the capital, caused significant traffic disruptions, forcing many ordinary Liberians to walk to work and other areas. Our correspondent in Monrovia, Ephraim Parker, reports.
This protest follows a tragic accident that claimed the life of a fellow motorcyclist, leading to cyclists disrupting major checkpoints. In the wake of this incident, authorities imposed new traffic restrictions on them, a move that has been met with fierce opposition from the riders. They argue that these measures jeopardize their only source of income and put them deeper into hardships. The protesting cyclists displayed their frustrations with placards bearing messages of urgency.
Some of us went to school, we graduated, some of us have degrees, we don't have jobs. We need to do something to uplift our family.
This government is harassing motorcycles, they are able to say we are not citizens for the country.
So true.
My bike is registered. Then at the end of the day, because of one person business, you say motorbike should be reviewed. So what began the 210 paying government revenue?
As the rally unfolded, the government remained steadfast in its stance. Officials have reiterated that the no-go zone restrictions are crucial for maintaining order and national security. But in Liberia, where unemployment remains alarmingly high, for many, motorbike riding is not just a job, it is a lifeline. Meanwhile, Liberia's Information Minister Jerry Limik-Pia emphasized that political pressures will not sway the government's commitment to these regulations.
If that's how we want to run the country, they will look like a place that is accountable. They will be the center of care.
In a nation where the struggle for survival often collides with the quest for safety, the voices of these motorcyclists echo a profound plea for understanding and support. For Newslink on WADR, this is Abraham Parker in Monrovia.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Civil society actors have expressed grave concerns at the current political situation in the bloc, that's the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, fearing a coup tear this bloc apart. Speaking at the opening of the third annual convening of civil society organizations organized by the West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network, Wadr, in Accra, Ghana, the network's Director for Policy Engagement and Partnerships, Dr. Kojo Asante, decried the state of political uncertainty in countries of member states of ECOWAS. He urged the stronger solidarity, especially with the exit of the trio of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger.
In this multiverse, authoritarianism is on the rise, and spaces for civic openness, protection of fundamental human rights are closed or closing. There are many of you here who may have been victims of these closed spaces or have colleagues who are currently in jail or just doing duty. Now, even as we experience this nightmare, misinformation and disinformation infrastructure and systems at full speed, coddling and celebrating autocrats and military regimes. We are under no illusion that democratically elected leaders in some cases have behaved this way. These have weakened ECOWAS to forge united fronts in the face of the attacks and the changing geopolitics. At the beginning of this year, the AES countries activated their withdrawal from ECOWAS, and they have this 6 months reflection period to reconsider. But we know that they forge ahead with their plans to remain separate, while others also contemplate plans to join them. At the same time, for those of us that are left, we have serious uncertainties about their political future. This includes Gambia, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Togo.
Dr. Kojo Asante is the Director for Policy Engagement and Partnership at Wadr Network. Staying in Ghana because the National Economic Forum enters day 2 with financial sector players reflecting on what the challenges have been while projecting how the country can regain its spot as a formidable economic nation. The May the Corps, during the opening ceremony on Monday, led by Ghanaian President John Dramani Mahama. From Accra, Etisu has more in this report.
At the end of deliberations on day 1, President John Mahama emphasized the point that the forum is far more than just a symbolic exercise.
This gathering is more than just a symbolic exercise or the fulfillment of a campaign promise. It is a decisive step in our collective responsibility to reset Ghana's economy, restore confidence, and build the prosperous future we all envision. Today we are here to begin the process of engaging in honest, solution-driven discussions about the challenges we face and the opportunities before us.
Ghana's Minister of Finance, Dr. Kasiola Toforsen, called for urgent reforms across state institutions to improve productivity.
Within the current growth model, growth will reduce to only 3.8%, which represents 2.4% GDP per capita in less than 15 years from now. There's an urgent need to implement ambitious reforms to reset the economy in the next 4 years. Otherwise, we'll go down in terms of growth.
Sharing in the ideals of Pan-Africanism and Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Mwako, a veteran thought leader on policies and initiatives on governance and growth in Africa, said Nkrumah would be sad at how low the economy has sunk.
At the heart of this, to me, is a shift in our mindset to embrace the African personality that Kwame Nkrumah dreamt of more than 40 years ago when he said, Africa needs new type of citizen, a dedicated, modest, honest, informed man, a new type of man whose humility is his strength and whose integrity is his greatest. I'm sure that if Kwame Nkrumah were with us here today will be saddened to see how far we have strayed from this vision.
Ghana's economy has faced significant challenges in recent years, marked by high inflation, currency depreciation, and fiscal constraints.
It's here to fight that report. You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Guinea-Bissau President Embalo declared candidacy for a second term amid a political crisis. Labor unions in Nigeria reject new hikes in electricity tariffs, threatens nationwide strike. Wadima's network convenes national conference on the state of ECOWAS. Still ahead in the news, in Mali, supporters of Magaza demand his release from Algeria. We also have press review, guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Thank you for staying with us. We are streaming live on YouTube at WADR News and on Facebook, WADR English Service. The Gambia National Assembly has heard the Local Government Amendment Bill 2024 for the first time. The legal document seeks to provide voting rights to nominated councillors at the local government level. Meanwhile, the Parliament has also heard the Waste Management Bill. This bill aims to help guide the Gambia's waste management system while encouraging reusable waste. Sankule Janko tells us more.
The Local Government Amendment Bill was introduced by Member for Latrikunda Sabeji, Yaya Menteng Sanyang. It seeks to grant voting rights to nominated councillors, reversing a provision in the 2002 Local Government Act that previously excluded them from voting in council elections. Fabakari Tombonjata is the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Gambia.
Local Government Amendment Bill 2024. Honourable members, the bill has been read a first time. The next stage of the Local Government Amendment Bill 2024 is appointed for Thursday, 6th March 2025, for the person in charge of the bill to move a motion for the second reading in accordance with Order 66-2.
Meanwhile, also during Monday's parliamentary session, lawmakers in the Gambia convened to debate the Waste Management Bill for the second time.
We really believe that this will help a lot in promoting a quality health in the country.
Especially Gambia is the dumping area for Europe.
So we thank you, Honorable Minister, for appearing before us, and be rest assured that the members of this House, we are going to support this bill because it's progressive.
The bill, according to Hamad Nkeba, the Minister for Lands and Religious Affairs, while stepping in for the Environment Minister, Rohi John Manjang, aims to set guidelines for waste reduction, recycling and reuse, which is a significant step towards addressing the growing waste management challenges in the country.
Waste management is a growing public health and environmental concern in the Gambia. Currently, only 20% of waste is properly collected and disposed of at the designated dump sites. If the current trends remains unchanged, the rate of waste collection will dwindle as all the pressure leading to increased waste generations are dynamic and non-static.
The bill outlines strategies for minimizing waste generation and promotes environmentally sustainable practices. For those linking West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankule Janko reporting from Banjul.
Let's now travel to the central Sahelan state of Mali, where Dauda Magasa has been missing for nearly a month. The close associate of Imam Mamoun Dekou was also adopted while organizing the return of the religious leader who has been in exile in Algeria. Supporters of Imam Dekou are now urging transitional authorities to secure Magasa's release.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
We now join Ibrahim Parker in Monrovia for the newspaper review.
On today's edition of Press Review, we begin with the front page Africa newspaper with the first headline that says, potential targets of JMB's caveat. If your focus is on 2029, you may respectfully resign. My priority is serving the Liberian people right now. The talk is over. The Liberian people expect results, and we must deliver. The back page of the front page Africa newspaper appeal the commercials. We move over to the Daily Observer newspaper. The Liberian people deserve answers. Motorcyclists protest against government ban. To the back page of the Daily Observer newspaper, Liberia Council of Churches calls for peaceful resolution in United Methodist Church crisis. Our next stop will be the Inquirer newspaper, volume 34. Boaka initiates investigation into missing 16 billion. Central Bank of Liberia reports eased inflation rates, but Liberia's diplomatic partners reaffirm support to mitigate shocks of USAID freeze. To the Independent newspaper, Boaka orders fresh probe on missing 16 billion. In photo is the president of Liberia. To the back page of the Independent newspaper, we don't want to be armed robbers. Aggrieved motorcyclists protest in Monrovia. To mitigate USAID cancellations, government strengthens ties with diplomats. Well, that does it for today's edition of Press Review from Liberia. And it's back to you in studio.
Ibrahim Parker there with the newspaper review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
So every year, Wadr assembles civil society organizations in West Africa, especially those involved in advocacy and sustained actions around.
Well, just before we bring you the details of that guest interview, the third annual regional convening of civil society organizations organized by the West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network gets underway in Accra, Ghana. Stakeholders in the democracy and development space will deliberate on the future of ECOWAS and the state of democracy in West Africa. Wadimot's network coordinator gives an insight into the areas of deliberation.
So every year, Wadr assembles civil society organizations in West Africa, especially those involved in advocacy and sustained actions around trying to push back democratic decline in West Africa. So for now, this is the third in the series of our annual convening, and the conversation is to take stock of the current political environment, the security environment in West Africa, assess the responses, especially from the continental level, that is our intergovernmental body, being ECOWAS at this stage, and then reimagine some of the responses and approaches, including that of civil society. And then at the end of the day, we expect to have a proposed program or a renewed agenda for us to work collectively as a network in responding to the challenges that we are facing in the sub-region, especially challenges around the formation of the AES and its intended exit from ECOWAS, challenges around some elections that we witnessed in recent past being weaponized and sometimes having predetermined outcomes, challenges even around ECOWAS as an institution itself, and the conversation are to the effect that the current ECOWAS structure and format doesn't present any hope and aspirations for the future of the sub-region. And there are conversations around ECOWAS at 50, what kind of reform agenda that should be considered. So these are some of the key issues that will be on the board for discussion.
Wadr has been pushing for a term limit respect by leaders in the region. What is the update on this?
Yes, we are still working on that. Collectively, we've been holding a lot of advocacy sessions. We've had consultation sessions as part of ECOWAS Heads of State Summit. Every summit, we do pre-CSO consultations. And the consultation is to sustain our demand for the review of the protocol, including term limits. So far, we saw some progress. We are waiting for Gambia to undertake a referendum of its draft constitution. Our understanding is that the current draft constitution has a term limit clause in it. But some of these campaigns were affected by the recent developments that almost shook the stability and disrupted the order in the sub-region, particularly the AES situation. Became a big issue and a rallying point for civil society attention. So we will be revisiting the term limit and the review of the protocol again, especially as I said that ECOWAS at 50 provides an opportunity to assess the normative instruments comprehensively.
Paul Osieku-4 is Wadimot's network coordinator. Here is Sankle Janko with sports.
Hello there, and warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The Ghana Football Association GFA Club Licensing Committee has rejected 6 stadiums according to local media reports. The rejections come following its latest inspection, raising serious concerns about safety and security ahead of the Ghana Premier League's resumption on March 7. Among the stadiums that have been rejected by the GFA Club Licensing Committee include Baba Yara Stadium, the home ground of Asante Kotoko. The stadium, which has hosted numerous international matches in the past, has been declared unfit to host matches due to the lack of a designated safe zone, it has been reported. According to reports, Kotoko must rectify the problems ahead of the league resumption next week or face the possibility of playing home matches away from Kumasi. Meanwhile, the University of Ghana Stadium, which has been a temporary home for Hearts of Oak, Legon Cities and Accra Lions, has also been declared unfit on similar grounds, it has been reported. Other clubs whose stadiums have been declared unfit to host Ghana Premier League matches include Barakum Chelsea's Golden City Park, Basak Holy Stars AAK, Ampanium Stadium and Young Apostles Wenchi Sports Stadium. And a lot of African stars will hope to help their clubs to secure quarterfinals qualifications in the UEFA Champions League as the round of 16 matches set to kick off today, Tuesday. The first game will show Club Brugge take on Aston Villa. Holders Real Madrid will host city rivals Atletico. Arsenal will travel to PSV Eindhoven, and Borussia Dortmund, led by Guinean forward Sekou Geraisi, will entertain French League One side with a host of African players Lille tonight. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek, Mam Kodun Jaifai and Umu Danyago for the technical support. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. At 1 p.m., Demba Amaan will be here with the comprehensive news in French, which is Info Chez Vous. I am Augustine Cully. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM,